So the answer key for the NLSAT paper is out, and today we are going to discuss the questions. As far as I have seen, I do not see any question that has a problem. Let's get to discussing the passages one by one along with the questions so that you also have a fair idea as to what you've attempted. If there is a doubt in your head that if it is right or wrong, you may get to know the same. Let's start with this video. Hi guys, I'm Ayushi, your mentor for law-based examinations, and welcome to Law Digest. And students who are preparing for NLSAT 2026, this again is an important video for you because it gives you an insight into how the 25 paper was and how do you attempt these questions. You might have found the passages to be difficult, the language to be difficult, that too if you weren't practiced well or you did not have reading practice and you did not read throughout the year, because reading throughout the year is very important and that reflects in this paper clearly that how important reading is, how important practice is. So when you're preparing for an examination like NLSAT, practicing questions is very important. You must practice as much as possible, for which we give you so much content on our website also for practice. So make sure that you don't miss out on that and you are following us here on YouTube as well as on Instagram. Here they have spoken about voting and the democratic process. So we are not going to read passage completely. You can read the passage by yourself, otherwise the video will go too long. I will just get on to the questions. The first question says that based on the passage, which of the following best describes how most voters approach voting? So we have to figure out from the passage that how are voters actually voting. So I've marked these things from you, that where will you find your answer. So here they have said that they use franchise as a form of self-expression. They vote for candidates who they think are like them and stand for their kind of people. So what is voting? How are the voters voting? It's like a self-expression and they're trying to find people who are alike and they vote for them. So here option B is the correct answer. It is a form of self-expression and identity affirmation. Then what does the author imply about the relationship between voters' stated preferences and their voting behavior? So if you would see here, it is marked that when they do formulate preferences, they commonly vote for a candidate with the opposite one. So when they're forming a preference, they're actually voting in opposite. But it hardly matters, because once in office, politicians vote the positions of their party regardless of the opinion of the constituents. So how are these preferences coming into being? How is this voting behavior coming into being? That there is often an inconsistency between what people say and how do they vote, because it has been said that they vote opposite. Now, if you would see other options, that they deliberately misrepresent their preferences, voting behavior is primarily determined by party loyalty. Before getting into the options, it's always advisable that you get through that part of the para which is talking about the issue in hand. If the issue in hand is talking about voting behavior and voting preferences, you reach the para and then you will not get confused by the options given. Then what inference can be drawn about author's view of voter rationality? How to draw inference about voter rationality? Many political scientists have concluded that most people correctly recognize that their votes are astronomically unlikely to affect the outcome of the election. So they prioritize their work, family, leisure over educating themselves about politics. So people are less concerned about voting and more concerned about other things, because they feel that their vote does not really have an impact on a large scale. So if we are talking about what the voter is thinking, what is the voter rationality, the correct answer is they consciously decide not to invest time in political education. Then people from Greenland are citizens of Denmark. It's quite an easy question that has been asked. Then Chief Election Commissioner, if you will remember in current affairs, we've time and again discussed about Chief Election Commissioner and the election commissioners being appointed. So now this question is in relation to the appointment itself, because that was one particular fact that was in news this year. So selection committee to appoint CEC does not comprise of. So we have to choose. Now it comprises of PM, leader of opposition and a cabinet minister, and it does not comprise of the Chief Justice of India, which is the correct answer. If you would remember, we had also made a post on Instagram regarding this, that how a Chief Election Commissioner is appointed, what is the committee comprising of. When in 2024 the Chief Election Commissioner bill was in question, then also we discussed this. So that is why we keep telling you to follow us on YouTube as well as on Instagram, because of the posts that we keep making. Then what conclusion does the passage draw about relationship between elections and democracy? elections and democracy, how are they related? Despite the widespread belief that elections are quintessence of the democracy, they are only one of the mechanisms by which government can be held responsible, and it is not always a constructive one. So elections are important, but then they don't decide governance. They're not sufficient for democratic governance. This is the correct answer. Question 7 says, what does the author imply when they call elections as contests between aspiring despots? So now, this particular term, you can simply fetch out the term in the passage. Obviously, when you read the passage, you will come across these terms, and the moment you see these questions, you get reminded that I saw this term here. Now, when an election is a contest between aspiring despots, relevant rival factions fear the worst if the other side wins and try to intimidate each other from rival factions. That is the fear that is present. So here, when they call elections as a contest, then the author implies that elections can exacerbate rather than resolve social conflicts in some contexts, because they might cause, when we see the statements preceding this particular keyword in the passage, we see that they are trying to say that people from rival factions, they intimidate each other, and whatever side wins, they try to intimidate the other. So that is what the question is talking about. Then question number 8, which of who amongst the following was arrested in March in accordance with the arrest warrant issued by International Criminal Court? This was already covered in the current affairs, and the correct answer is option B. Then, if you will see the next passage, this is about the coaching industry, and you saw how the UPSC issue happened. We had also stated about it. So this was in news. Now, what are we exactly seeing here? The questions are talking about, the author suggests that success of coaching industry depends on predictability of examinations. Which of the following is true? And it would weaken the argument. So we had given you ample practice of strengthen and weaken questions. If you will see in the mocks, in the material, it was already given. Now here, how did you have to deal with it? When we are talking about predictability of the examination, it is dealt here. They've basically highlighted that, if the examination setting bodies, they will think about test setting, they can be imaginative, but they rely on past pattern. They're unable to break from the shackles of the shadow to coach future aspirants based essentially on information of previous exams. After all, coaching can only be successful if the past is predictive of the future. So here they are saying that how will this predictability go away? How can it be weakened? This statement, how can it be weakened? If the paper setters often incorporate innovative question formats and assess higher order thinking, then this argument that the exam is predictable and that is based on which success of coaching institutes depend, that statement will weaken. So it's very logical also. The author argues that the state regulation of coaching industries would merely be symptom management. How will this statement be strengthened? Symptom management. Now then you will get back to where this word has been dealt with, where the regulation has been dealt with. So which is why I've advised you that when you're reading the passage, you mark a keyword on the side. You write the keyword so that you can come back to that keyword when you see it in the questions. So here in this paragraph, it says regulation in case of test prep industry will be only a kind of symptom management. The malaise is deeper because there are issues wherein public schooling, quality of public schooling in higher education is lacking, diversity of career options is lacking, and which is why it is providing the youth with a comfortable life, and they're not able to think beyond. So if we want to strengthen the argument that it is merely symptom management by regulating coaching industry, that is not exactly serving the purpose. How? Because the underlying concern with proliferation of coaching institutes is the existence of weak public education system which would persist even if this industry is regulated. Then which of the following would strengthen the argument that growth of coaching centers has attributed to widening socio-economic inequality? So if you will read throughout the passage, they have spoken about this, that students who are able to afford big coachings, the education is tilted in their favor. So when we see the passage, we find statement which confirms this, that students from wealthier backgrounds have better access to high quality education and they perform better in the examinations. So this would strengthen this argument that there is a socio-economic inequality. Then which of the following would effectively challenge author's argument that regulating coaching industry is merely a symptom management? So we have to try to give an argument which is opposite to it, because here they are saying that we have to challenge the author's argument. So regulation is not just symptom management. What else is happening? Research demonstrating that regulations of coaching industry have led to significant improvement in public education. So this is directly challenging the argument of the author, and this is the correct answer. The author's concern about lack of imagination amongst test setters implies that they believe, so when there is a lack of imagination, they believe that they should design exams that are less predictable and assess a wide range of skills. That is what the passages again and again been talking about, and the questions also revolve around the same issue. What significant action did Ministry of Education take in January 2024 regarding private coaching centers? This was informed to you that there was a new regulation that came, and it was already covered in the current affairs PDF as well. So they introduced a new guideline for registration and regulation. Then there was a lot of debate in the parliament regarding three language policy. Now here we've been asked that lowest percentage of schools offering three languages. The answer is Arunachal Pradesh. The debate was about Tamil Nadu. So I think before this, when we were discussing the paper, the basic questions, before the answer key came out, I was under the impression that someone had written a question that which state refused to comply with the three language policy. Here the question is different, and the answer is Arunachal Pradesh here. Then the next passage speaks about PILs and Supreme Court. So here it is basically saying that Supreme Court is very active and people expect Supreme Court to act whenever a PIL is filed. They want Supreme Court to get into policy. That is the expectation of people. And if this keeps happening, then the outreach of Supreme Court will be too much. So when we see the questions, what do they say? The primary criticism of Supreme Court's response to migrant crisis emanating from government-imposed lockdown is what that the author is giving, that Supreme Court did not act. Here in the first paragraph itself, it says that during the lockdown, initially it tried to avoid involvement. Then following its belated intervention, it happened through suo motu public interest litigation. That is only when the Supreme Court intervened. So that is how the author is criticizing that it avoided initial involvement and intervened late. Then in April recently, Supreme Court cancelled appointment of teaching and non-teaching staff of School Service Commission of which of the following states. If you would remember before this also, because this has been an issue which is pending in Supreme Court, we had also discussed this earlier, and here West Bengal SSC School Service Commission had made appointments, and this was relating to the cash for jobs scam, which was very popular, and the correct answer here obviously is West Bengal. Then according to the passage, what is one of the following issues with relying on PIL for addressing social problems? So what does the passage say on relying on PIL? That it does not lead to dilution of standing requirements over a period of time. The fundamentals have got diluted, such as the need to rely on minimum evidentiary standards or even judicial reasoning, the legal reasoning and judicial grounds, that has been diluted when there is an over reliance on PIL. So here the passage says that they have led to dilution of evidentiary and procedural standards. Very direct answers are there. If you would have read between the lines and understood, you could have simply made out these answers. According to passage, why do many people believe it is Supreme Court's responsibility to alleviate suffering? So why do people feel that Supreme Court needs to alleviate suffering? Because rise of PIL and its popularization, it has led to a belief that Supreme Court की responsibility है and that all social problems of such magnitudes should be addressed by Supreme Court. So they feel that courts should address should look into such social problems. PILs have created this perception that courts should intervene directly in social issues. According to passage, what is a serious problem with legal culture created by PILs? So if we'll talk about the legal culture that is existing, with a PIL, invocation of suffering is seen as enough, and there is no need to interpret such suffering into problem of law or right. So when a suffering is there, that is enough. It is generally felt that you don't get into the question of framing the issue that whether there is a legal problem that actually exists or not. So this is a perceived problem, and court needs to find a solution to this. That is what is being said here. So the serious problem is that they rely more on invocation of emotion rather than legal reasoning. Women judges Supreme Court have these, we have discussed time and again. Total they've had only four, and if we speak of present, then we have only two, because two of the female judges retired in the recent past, which is why there are only two female judges as of now. Then author, and even this we had, when I was discussing Supreme Court judgments, I had specifically spoken about Justice B.V. Nagartana, who's going to be the first woman Chief Justice of India. And you, if you had followed the videos and you had followed the content, you would have got this right. The author discusses how legal issues can be framed in a way that makes them appropriate for judicial intervention. What suggests about the role of courts in addressing social problems? So it is again a repetition of the earlier question that courts must translate social issues into legal questions before they can provide solutions. We had spoken about solutions. Then the passage argues that the centralization of political power has affected the role of Supreme Court. So, which of the following would weaken this argument? When there is centralization of political power, then how can this be weakened? What can we say? That it is not just the Supreme Court. High courts also frequently take independent action in major public issues. So, this is targeting the statement here. Then question number 24 says that if trends described in the passage continue, so what is the trend? That people relying on PIL too much and expecting Supreme Court interference. What is the long-term consequence? Indian legal system में उसका consequence क्या होगा? Public expectations of judicial interventions in policy matters will continue to rise and legal procedures will be further weakened. So that is what has been suggested in the passage itself. Then who amongst the following is the current member of Supreme Court Collegium that makes recommendation? So collegium again is something that has been discussed a lot, and collegium basically comprises of Chief Justice of India and four other senior judges, senior most judges rather. So if you will see here, the moment you see Justice Sanjeev Khanna, this is the correct answer. And even in the mocks for other exams, such questions have been covered. If not NLSAT, this type of current affairs is also covered in other exams, which is why I tell you to give all mocks for all exams. The next question is talking about Pakistan and the issue of biryani. Here they've basically dealt with how the dish of biryani has evolved and where it has come from. Is it from India? Is it from Pakistan? Or is it evolved? So they've basically spoken about this fact again and again, that Karachi is one of the main hub where biryani exists, and biryani has evolved in different subcontinents, and then it has finally found its peace with Karachi. So let's look at the statements. According to the author, what is the essential attribute of biryani? So if you will see here, they've said that fundamental combination is rice with fat. So here also they've said that it mentions that dish should have been should have cooked rice with meat and is to be eaten with butter. So here the option is, it is a combination of rice with fat and protein. Then according to passage, what role does biryani play in Karachi? So if you will see the last particular lines, it says that in this view of world, biryani can authentically be a jiddat. Jiddat is innovation. They've discussed it above in the passage of Karachi's people, and it has traveled across vast homeland and learned many lessons. And in Karachi, it finds its most transcendent form. So it is a cultural expression. It is a form of cultural expression and innovation. Innovation comes from the word jiddat. Then statements are given. We have to tell which of the following is correct. Statement 1 says that in Karachi, migrants from India are called mujahirs. This statement is given in the passage itself. Biryani in Karachi is made with prawns. So if we get on to here, this particular paragraph, it says that there is no restaurant that serves prawn biryani the way it is made here. And so here they've said that this, which place is this? It is a small village in the enormous city. So it is not as if prawns are very popular. It is in a small village that prawn biryani is being provided. And also here they've said that people who come from India are called mujahids. So statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is wrong, which is why C is the correct answer here. In this passage, why does the author describe Fatima Majid as statement as intriguing? So basically, she says that biryani originated in Karachi, but it is commonly believed that biryani was brought to Karachi by Indian migrants. So which is why they find her statement intriguing. The movie Mrs. I had told you time and again that they are really obsessed with movies, and you do find questions on movies, on award, Oscars. This I had specifically pointed out earlier, and there are questions as you see again. There is a question on Mrs. Movie, and the answer is The Great Indian Kitchen. Then there is again a question on book, which again I emphasize that Nobel books, these also form important questions. So the book Chalk is written by Abhijit Banerjee. Which of the following describes Hajra's theory of origin of biryani? So if you will see how the theory has described it, that it originated across different parts of the subcontinent. So if you will see even in the last line when we were reading here, it has traveled across the vast homeland. Further, if you will see here, Hajra also outlined how subcontinental food kept building its recipe throughout. Biryani evolved across the Indian subcontinent and rather than arriving from outside. So these are the arguments that have been made in the passage. Then which of the following Pakistan political parties had its election symbol blocked? So this question is from international news. The answer is Pakistan Tahreek-e-Insaf. The next one deals with this passage is dealing with prime minister, and it is talking about the way that parties, the majority party tries to hide the faults of the parties and try to please the prime minister, and it is also dealing with the issue of aliens that whatever prime minister is being spoken about here in the passage, there have been a lot of failures, and there have been a lot of fallouts. But now what is happening is that there is an alien arrival that is happening in this country, and if that does not happen properly, then the PM needs to flee, because that is the only choice they are left with, which is why the intelligence is speaking to people who have a film based on aliens. Now, what are the questions? The name of the craft in which Barry Baltimore and Sunita Williams. Now, this again very important. I had also pointed it out during my current affairs videos, and it was already present in the material. Boeing Starliner was the craft here in which they had traveled to the International Space Station. Which of the following is most accurate as regards PM's party that tried to respond to his failure? So, if you will see earlier how they've said that how they've dealt with failures, that they proceeded to extinguish institutions, and they celebrated failure before the storm, and they denounced failure as the ploy by the opposite party to spread negativity. So they've continuously tried to put it under the carpet, and which is why option C is the correct answer. They try to suppress or deflect attention from failures. Which of the following is PM most likely to agree with? If you cannot find a way to escape blame for your failures, run away. Because here the passage itself is saying, just as the PM had concluded that fleeing was his best choice, right? Then next question is, which of the following best explains why intelligence brought screenwriters to meet the PM? So here you will see that the intelligence says that we thought that since everything seems to follow the plot of their movie, it is best to ask the screenwriters that what is going to happen next. Which is why they say that their script for invaders seem to predict how alien visitation would occur. Which of the following, if true, would weaken the intelligence agent's argument? The argument is what? This argument. Then how would it weaken? The aliens had seen invaders and they had mimicked the events for people to get misleaded. That in the movie, if this is happening, people will get misleaded. This statement is definitely weakening the argument of the intelligence. Then again, on the movies, which filmmaker, a recipient of both Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan, passed away at the age of 19 2024? The answer is Shyam Benegal. This was specifically given under the miscellaneous section of the current affairs. If you would study it properly, you would have got it correct. Then this film, Payal Kapadia, won the prestigious Grand Prix, and this was the first time that Indian woman has won this award. This was also a part of our current affairs. The answer is All We Imagine as Light. Then question 41 says, based on the passage, which of the following is most likely to be true about liberals? So when we talk about liberals, we reach here. Liberals, when this particular thing happened that the advisor of the PM got killed, liberals had cheered in their hearts, but it will be against the public values to celebrate it publicly. So instead, they wore smiles and nodded at each other. So now when we look at this, question number 41, it says that based on the information in the passage, what is true about liberals? How they felt about something was contrary to their values. So they were happy about the end of the advisor to the PM, but then they did not express it well because they feel that their values will be questioned on the basis of that. Then, if the statement about PM's party in the passage are true, which of the following is correct? So, what is the party is doing? Party is trying to deflect the issues. So here, uh, they thought it was more important to deny failures than to understand how to avoid them. This is the correct answer here. What is the intelligence say that screenwriters do not have an extra? Why does the intelligence say that they do not have an extra terrestrial link? Because they have here towards the end of the passage, they have mentioned that no one really has an extraterrestrial link. This is actually humanity's first contact with the aliens. Direct answer, these answers were easy and could have been done if you had practiced well and you had reading speed, you had practiced how to go about reading. Then here, this is the correct answer because there is no contact. Then next passage is talking about the Ranveer Alabadya issue, the freedom of speech issue. And they've spoken about Mohammad Zubair, that Alt News co-founder, how Supreme Court had reacted back then and said that if gag orders are issued, then it will have an effect on freedom of speech. But in the Ranveer Alabadya case, they acted to the contrary. That is what the author has opined here, and they've said they've even brought Shreya single judgment wherein it was said that you cannot define offense or what is offensive very clearly. It's vague. There are vague restrictions that have a chilling effect. These things have been spoken about. Now, what are the questions? How does the Supreme Court's handling of Ranveer Alabadya case compare to its earlier stance? So, as I said, that it appears to contradict previous defense of speech principles. That is what the passage is talking about. Why did the Supreme Court reject imposition of ban on Mohammad Zubair's social media activities? They have this particular statement finds its way right here. It says that gag orders have a chilling effect on freedom of speech. Then why did the Supreme Court, what concern was the Supreme Court had in this Ranveer Alabadya case? Here it says that the language could bring shame to families and society, which is why this option is correct, that there is a potential to cause harm to family and social values. Then, which of the following corporations has challenged use of IT to set up mechanism for regulation of unlawful online content? The answer is X Corporation. The passage argues that vague restrictions on online speech can lead to a chilling effect. So, which scenarios illustrates this? So, they've given you scenarios and you have to point out that which of the following has an effect here. So, basically, you have to interpret. A blogger decides not to publish an article critical of politician due to fear of repercussions, even though they believe criticism is valid. This is the correct answer because if there are vague restrictions on online speech, that if you are critical of someone, then this can have a chilling effect that people will not post what they want to. They will fear from posting such content. Then passage implies that political class might use free speech restrictions to its own advantage. So what is the consequence here? That speech restrictions may be selectively applied on political interests. If government over-regulates online content, then what will be the answer here, which would support the concern? There will be a decline in the number of controversial political discussions because again people will refrain from commenting, and here if you will see that ammunition to political class, the court needs to see that it will give an ammunition because they will be quick to clamp down on anything that deems offensive and cuts across party lines. Then the passage argues that Allahabad order appended the logic of Shreya single case. Which of the following best explains this argument? They have pointed out that in Shreya single, in which Supreme Court had held that vague restrictions lead to chilling effect, this logic has been appended. Speaker is now expected to anticipate red lines, and restrictions can empower state with arbitrary action and incentivize frivolous complaints. So that is the concern that is being raised here. So Shreya single case cautioned against vague restrictions, while Allahabad case imposed a gag order based on subjective interpretation of offensive content. Chairman of Parliamentary Standing Committee has been formed. Who is the chairman of the Committee on Communication and IT? The answer is Nishikant Dubey. Then this particular question could have been basically answered by outruling the options, because they are saying that new offense enacted newly offenses under the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, under which Mohammad Zubair, who shared a video clip, unke against FIR hui, under what new offense? Sedition is an old offense, if you would know. This has been stressed time and again, that sedition has been done away with under BNS. Blasphemy is also not a new offense. Copyright violation is also not a new offense, and plus it is not a part of BNS. It's not criminal law. It's IPR law. The correct answer is endangering sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. Then the next passage here is talking about chat GPT. So here they've said that people don't understand what AI is. AI has different forms. It is predictive. So they've spoken majorly about generative AI and predictive AI, and they've said that these are two different terms and you cannot equate. People are not able to understand the use of AI. That is what has been spoken about in the passage. Now the questions: founder of the company who made DeepSeek, again discussed in the current affairs. Liang Wenfeng is the right answer. This is Chinese chatbot and it became popular. It was a part of our current affairs as well. Then next is, which of the following most accurately reflects the author's argument about the term, how the term AI is applied? So here, if you will see, the author has said that AI is an umbrella term which is set loosely for related technologies. So they couldn't be more different. Here they've spoken about it, the ways it has been used, it is different. Chat GPT is common, but then it is different from other ways in which AI is being used. So the correct answer here is, it refers to several technologies which differ greatly from each other. Microsoft new quantum computing chip is called Majorana 1. Then which of the following is the authors most likely to agree with? So the author has again and again emphasized that people would be able to take better decisions about AI if they understood the types of AI better. Then they are saying weather forecast, how to make weather forecast prediction is what kind of AI? They have said that predictive AI is what? Predictive AI is something that tells, make predictions about the future. Weather forecasting is a prediction about the future. So, which is why this weather forecast, predictive AI, is the correct answer. The government passes a law that requires all software developers to label any new AI as generative or predictive. So, based on the information, the authors would, if such a law is passed, the authors would oppose this law, since AI of other types may be wrongly identified, because you are categorizing them into two broad heads. Here, the author has said that generative AI does this, but popularity has been accompanied by misinformation, fear, but as a product, it is prone to misuse. So here, the author has said that it has spoken that you cannot classify. The author has said that how they work, how they are used for, by whom they are used, it that couldn't be more different. Who amongst the following is the founder of Studio Ghibli? Hayao Miyazaki is the correct answer. This was again very much popular in the news. Something about predictive AI that the author is most likely to support, that systems that spot statistical patterns in data sets. This is also mentioned when we speak of predictive AI. It has been said that it deals with statistics. Then which of the following, if true, is the strongest criticism of author's argument about ability to distinguish between false and accurate claims about technology? So strongest criticism is, it depends upon being the use and not about different names. That is again, the author has stressed again and again. Then again, this was also part of current affairs, wherein AI based language tool that has been announced by the government is Bhashini. This we had discussed in the current affairs. Then which of the following organizations sued OpenAI in Delhi High Court for infringement of copyright? The correct answer is Asia News International. This was also very much in news. So the questions are not absurd when current affairs is concerned. Questions that are directly from news have been picked up. Then the final passage here is talking about women, bifurcation of gender. Then they're talking about sports, that how women are treated. And they say that when it comes to sports, women are subjected to testing, and they do understand nationalism. Otherwise, they don't differentiate women from men. They don't consider them as special, and they want women to, they allotted them the power of vote, understanding that they will be able to act as good supporting citizens if they are allowed to vote. So, what are the questions? Which of the following would weaken Nirjas Jail's argument? Here, if we will look at this particular line, the argument basically begins that Nirja Gopal Jayan has written about women citizenship in India, and she says that national movement, including Congress leaders, has been held curiously bifurcated notion of separate spheres for men and women. So the argument here can be that national leaders oppose the notion of separation of sexes, because the argument that's made here is that they did favor it. Then, assuming Jayal's argument reproduced in the extract are correct, which of the following is most accurate as regards to extending vote to women? So, as far as extending vote to women is concerned, here they have said that extending vote to women was premised on the understanding that it would bring values of private sphere, and they will be good supporting citizens without threatening the men's exercise of rights. So, here the correct answer is option C, that they were not expected to demand rights at the cost of men's exercise of rights. Then, who has been, who's the, now this is speaking about 2023. When we were discussing the question that was brought to me, I had obviously thought that it is pertaining to 24. However, 23 में the doping violation, the 4-year ban was against Duty Chand. Now, this was again a part of news because there had been gender discrimination in this particular context, which is why this question is being asked. Then, which of the following conclusions most strongly supported the author's argument? So, the author's argument: women who run for pleasure or fitness are not considered as legitimate as opposed to those who run for the nation. So here, when they've spoken about language and sports enable citizen to perform with patriotism, and women get certain license to put themselves out there. So these arguments that are being made here, running is a lens for me. All these arguments are supporting the argument of the author. Which of the following most accurately explains how author responds to Jayal's arguments in the passage? The author says that recounting of conceptual history of women's citizenship makes the questioning of women in public spheres seem natural, and that is what the author is again and again saying, that how women have been discriminated against. Who is the first athlete from independent India to win 2 medals in the same edition of Olympics? The correct answer is Manu Bhakar. Olympics has been an important event, and so you had to expect a question on Olympics. Then, which of the following has been elected as president of International Olympic Committee in March? Kirsty Coventry, covered in the current affairs. So these questions are all covered. And students who kept asking me what is important, I told you movies, books, authors, sports, appointments. Questions from these areas are important when it comes to NLSAT and passages like these. Which of the following made its debut as a medal winning event at the Paris Olympics? The debut was by a new sport of breaking. Then President Donald Trump had signed an executive order targeting transgender athletes in sports. The title of the order was Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. Question 75. If the argument in the passages are accurate, which of the following is most plausible explanation why competitive female athletes are made to undergo biological tests? So the answer of this again is right here in the passage. It says that the notion of fair play has led to 2 separate categories, males and females, for which the biological markers are closely monitored in women alone. Male athletes are not tested. There is no anxiety that women will sneak into males competition because they are biologically less powerful. That is believed. And so here the plausible explanation of women being subject to tests is men are seen as biologically more powerful than females. So female athletes would show that most of them should be barred from the competition and they do not outperform males. This is the correct answer. And finally, the final question is, who won the gold medal in women's 66 kg boxing event in the Olympics? The correct answer is Iman Khalif, and which is why there was a controversy surrounding gender in respect to her. So these are all the answers. I hope you got them correct. So if you would see that hardly there was any interpretation that was very difficult. You might have found the passages to be difficult, the language to be difficult, that too if you weren't practiced well, or you did not have reading practice and you did not read throughout the year, because reading throughout the year is very important, and that reflects in this paper clearly that how important reading is, how important practice is. So when you're preparing for an examination like an LSAT, practicing questions is very very important. You must practice as much as possible, for which we give you so much content on our website also for practice. So make sure that you don't miss out on that, and you are following us here on YouTube as well as on Instagram. As far as the cutoff is concerned, we will still wait. Based on the feedback, I'm going to conduct a poll. Let's see how students are scoring, and then we can base an idea as to what the cutoff is. Initially, I had told you that generally 100 plus is considered safe, considering that people found the paper to be easy, and this time there are no bouncer questions in current affairs. 105 is what we can expect, 105 plus. Let's see what the cutoff comes out to be. In the meanwhile, make sure that you are following the channel.